to show you how to change the color of anything in Photoshop. So I've just gone ahead and gotten a stock photograph of a woman in a brightly colored sweater, and we're going to change the color of this sweater today. Now, whatever image you have, you can just go ahead and open it straight up into Photoshop, and then what I like to do is go ahead and duplicate that image or duplicate that layer. So you can right click on the layer and duplicate it, or hit Command J, and that will also duplicate the layer. Now there's a couple of different ways of recoloring things in Photoshop. I'm going to show you my 3 that are go-tos. The last one is going to be the best though, but it's good to know all of these. So one of the ways that you can start is go into Image, Adjustments, and Replace Color. So the way that this works is I have my little eyedropper here. I'm going to eyedrop the color that I want to replace, and then down here is the result. This is how that color will be changed. So if I kind of scroll over here to the green, you can see that that original red color has now changed to this kind of greenish color. Now the problem with that is her skin tone and her lips have also changed. So one way I can kind of prevent that is I can take the fuzziness down a little bit here, and that will select a little bit less of that original color. And as I do that though, you'll see that those colors in the sweater start to come back. Now if I wanted to, I could also go into this plus eyedropper up at the top, and I could start kind of clicking through the sweater just to add those colors back in. But as you can see, this is a little clunky. It doesn't give you a ton of control, and it just doesn't look as polished and takes a lot longer to do as well. So it's not the best option, but it is good to know about. And of course, you can adjust the hue, the saturation, and the value, the lightness or darkness down here using this tool as well. I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel though, because I don't want to keep this. If you want to do one little change of something that's a very basic, simple color, that is a really good tool though, because it's very quick. Another tool that you can use is the color replacement tool in your toolbar. So it's part of the brush family of tools. If you don't see it, go to your brush tool and then choose color replacement tool. And it works by basically painting color. So if I choose any swatch here, I've got this purple swatch, I'm going to go in and paint this color onto the sweater so that the kind of red color changes to more of a purple. Now, one thing you want to know about this tool is there are different modes that you can use, and color is really the best one. Hue will also work, but I'll show you why you don't usually want to use hue. Color is that pure kind of form of color that will change overall the way that sweater looks. The other thing that I like to set on this is I like to find the edges. And sometimes this is not helpful because sometimes you'll want to change something that has a lot of things in it or a lot of texture in it that looks like an edge. But if you don't have find edges on, it's really easy to paint past the object that you're trying to change. So now that I have this on there, I'm going to go ahead and show you what this looks like. And because I have find edges on, if I kind of paint a little bit over that edge, it's not going to usually take that out past that sweater. But also because I have find edges on, sometimes it's going to look at things like the little fold in the sweater and it might see that as an edge as well. So sometimes you just have to kind of overpower what this is doing. But here you can see it's very easily changing the color of this. It's looking really good. But the problem with this is that I don't have a lot of control. Here I have this color. If I don't like that color, I need to go in and repaint that whole area. So now I have to go back in and repaint with the color replacement tool again, which you can do. There's nothing that's impossible about that, but it's just not going to be quite as quick or quite as effective as the next step that I'm going to show you. Now, I also want to show you how the hue blend mode works with this, because I just want you to know why you should not use hue versus color. So here in this hue blend mode, it's a little bit harder to tell with this color, but I'm going to go in with this kind of violet color. And you can see actually with that violet color, it actually works a little bit better. But it kind of blends that original color that you have with the value and saturation of that original sweater, which can work really well, but if you're really trying to change saturation and you want it to be pure to that original hue that you've chosen, then you want to do color. So here's that original kind of teal or dark teal hue. And if I go into color and go right next to that, you can see how that's different. So you can experiment with those, but usually I kind of stick with that color blend mode. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and just delete this entire layer because I'm going to show you what I think is the best way of adjusting these colors. So again, I'm going to hit Command J to duplicate this layer, and now I need to select this sweater. So I'm going to go into my selection, my quick selection tool, and click inside of the sweater here. You can just click multiple times until you see your item selected. If you want to, you can also hit Select and Mask. And here you can kind of shift that edge out a little bit. Whenever I have something with a little bit of texture, I like to maybe expand my selection a little bit. But if it's looking okay to you, you can just hit OK and you're good to go. Now we are going to create an adjustment layer with a mask from the selection that we have just made. So if you don't see your adjustment layers, you can go to Window and select Adjustments, and then you should see them right over here. And we're going to click on Hue and Saturation. So there we go. Now it's really important when you get to this point that you click on this little box down here that says Colorize. And here you can see, because our slider was over in the blue, that automatically colored that sweater to that blue color. Now it was just the sweater because, again, we have this mask over here that's saying the only thing we want to change in this layer is the white part of this mask. Now, one thing that I'm noticing, and you may notice yourself, is that because we did have kind of this fuzzy texture, I'm seeing a lot of that original red along the edge of the sweater. So I can fix that by going in and clicking on the mask, going to my regular brush tool, making sure I'm in a soft, round, simple brush, and then going in and painting white, which you can see my white right here, over those red areas. And a little tip with this, if you hold down the Shift key and you click at the beginning point and end point of where you would like your brush to go, it will fill in that straight line in between those 2 points. So that's just a really helpful little trick if you don't want to have issues with painting this out. So ideally, I would spend a little bit more time on this, but I'm just going to kind of do the key areas here where I see some red overlap. And with photos, a lot of times color doesn't just stay in the item. There are reflections of color, and that color kind of shines its hue onto other items that are close by. So you might have to kind of just keep an eye on that so that you don't have that original color peeking through. All right, so once you have this looking good, I can click back onto my hue and saturation options here, and I can change this to any color I want. So let's say I was advertising St. Patrick's Day. I might want to pull this over into the green hue so that I can have a green sweater for that advertisement. If I was a sweater maker and I made the sweater in different colors, I could just pick any color I wanted here and advertise that color as an option for my sweaters. Not only can you change the hue here, but you can also change the saturation, so you can make it brighter, or you can make it a little bit less saturated so that it's kind of a grayer tone here. And then of course we can change the lightness or darkness too. Be a little bit careful about that, because if you take it too light, obviously that doesn't quite look right. So we want to make sure that you're still kind of sticking with that original value of the image. Otherwise, that's not going to look very realistic. So that's pretty much it. Once you have the color that you like, you can do a file, save it as that color, and then you can keep changing this over and over. And if I wanted to change other parts of this image, I could do that too by going in and maybe selecting her lips and then creating another adjustment layer with just that selection. So experiment with this, have fun, and enjoy changing colors in Photoshop.